single or double to themselves. Residence Life has been considering a variety of policies of how to address this, and so what they're going to, or what they're proposing to do has been to have an option for students. So when a student decides to leave a roommate, leave their room, to either say that I'm open to having a roommate assigned to me, or two, to say at this cost I'm willing to keep the room to myself. They haven't determined what this cost will be, but it's essentially saying that if you would rather not have a roommate live with you, you're going to have to pay a certain amount to retain that room all to yourself, because especially like first years, the expectation is for them to room in doubles, and so that's a discussion that I thought y'all should be aware of, and so I get the sense that people have thoughts. I would love to hear them.
Yeah, let's make a little pew for thoughts. Who's got thoughts? Raise your hand if you have thoughts. Okay, word. We're gonna go Senator Houston, Senator Jones, then we're gonna go over here.
Yeah, I guess, would that just be the standard policy? Like you would always have to pay to get a single? Because I can think of very many reasons why if someone has a negative roommate situation, they wouldn't want to go and to be randomly assigned to another roommate.
So this wouldn't be for a single, it would be for like if you were if you were a one person living in a double, as opposed to being assigned to a single.
Follow-up question?
I just, is that like, is it confirmed that that will be the policy, like people have to pay? 'Cause I know my first year I ended up in a dingle, not by any choice of my own, and I couldn't imagine having to pay this for more money.
Okay. That's a good point, and let's talk some more about that.
Senator Jones?
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, where also, in the discussion it came up, like, students who move out not because of an issue with their particular roommate, but because, like, they, just for health reasons, like, need a room of their own, and if that is, like, a tax that they're not gonna have to encourage to, like, sustain their mental health, like, what's the deal with that?
Tucker and Senator Kurtz?
So I have like a couple hypothetical situations running around my head. One of them I'm like imagining like someone ends up in a dingle for whatever reason, and the college like does not necessarily have someone to move into that room, because I've seen those situations with many friends in my year. Their first year, would the college like make them move into an empty single, or give them, or like ask them to pay up to stay in that room? Like that wouldn't happen.
No. So
Okay.
by paying up, you're saying that you're saying that no matter what, you won't take a roommate. By not paying, you're saying that if the possibility of assigning a roommate comes up, then you're welcoming that opportunity. It's not that like if the college doesn't assign you a roommate, that means you're gonna pay.
So
How much is it like?
That's the thing they haven't decided on yet.
so it's like the fee is more like a guarantee that you will get a single, not necessarily like, and not paying it is not necessarily like a guarantee that you won't somehow end up in a dingle because of various reasons.
Exactly.
And then I'm expecting there are also still avenues for people that like, are open to rooming with someone, they like don't pay that fee, they end up with a roommate who's like, thinking anecdotes, I know, really racist or really transphobic, they can still like get out of that situation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this seems, alright.
Senator Kurtz, Senator Blackstone, Senator Houston.
So relating to what Senator Houston was saying before, I think what she was trying to say was that like, if you have a situation where it's like you have a roommate who is like doing something, I don't know, like that you really don't appreciate, and then that roommate moves out, it's like not really fair maybe to put that person under the experience of having them be forced to room with someone they don't know, and like after they've already had a traumatic experience with that roommate, And then even so, like puts them in the position where like, do they get someone that they don't want to room with, and like maybe have another negative experience, or they like pay when maybe they won't be in a situation where they can pay, so it just doesn't really seem that fair.
I have two things. One is, like, what, like, evidence do they, like, this is evidence of them, like, saying that people are, like, doing said thing for, like, for personal gain, not for, like, getting out of a situation. Like, I want to know about that. And also just, like, putting fees on things, like, creates a barrier for entry that is usually attacks marginalized identities. And so I would just, like, just from hearing that, I would want to just fight against that at all costs.
Yeah, kind of just like echoing what Senator Curtis was echoing, like saying, like, my first year, my roommate left because of like basically like racist issues, there are issues with race. And I couldn't imagine if they told me that either you room with someone of the same identity who you don't know, whereas like I had a month, like this whole summer to get to know her and still found out things as we lived together. Or being told that I have to pay when I just don't have the money. I don't, yeah, so basically just putting to them that like, and then I think of like issues of like sexual assault or things like that. Like, there are very many reasons why people would not want another roommate after a bad roommate experience. And money shouldn't be a barrier to that.
Yeah, I guess I'll explain why I'm typing more than I'm responding. Most of these are things that I'm actually going to take back to the committee, and I wish I was making these decisions, but I'm really glad that you guys are giving me the input. I think the point that Errol, Sierra, and Sam especially are making are really important points, at least for them to think about this in a more effective way, and so I'll make sure to relay that to them. I think the idea, and I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of making a decision that's respectful of students, is to have a process that's respectful of students in terms of room consolidation as it is now, but to add on that so that there are people like that will filter out through that process. I think a concern that was raised in the committee is also like the question of privilege that Errol mentioned, because like what if you can afford to pay like that money and then like all the rich kids get singles, like and so that's also a situation to contend with, and so that is an ongoing debate on the committee, and I'll make sure to, and Vidush as well, we'll make sure to advocate for all the things that we've heard, let you guys know what's up next time.
Yes, you know,
I just had a comment on the timing in terms of like payment. So from this personal experience, so I had a roommate move out of my room like mid-year, and so I retained the room for the rest of the semester. So in my situation, would I then be offered at the end of the semester, like you can either get a new roommate or you can pay, or like, so I guess my question is like, would the payment decision need to be made like within like a week or two after the roommate moves out, or would it come at like the end of the semester after maybe a person like me would have had time to like find a new roommate or think about it more?
My understanding is that that's a decision that you would be making soon after the roommate leaves. To be like, and especially like towards the end of the semester, it's actually conceivable in that situation that if you choose not to pay, you're still not going to end up having a roommate because it's so far into the end of the semester. But effectively, they'll want you to make that decision soon so that they can either figure out that you're not going to be on that list that they suggest people that they can room in, or that they want to put you kind of on that list, or they want to charge you, like one of those.
Because when it happened to me, like, I didn't have to make that decision until the end of the semester, so it seems like they might be changing that.
Senator Curtis.
As far as like the combining rooms once people are in their own room, like even if they're not choosing to have a single and a two-person room, is there potential to be like more like information, like transparency among the people in those rooms about like combining, like even if they're like already, they work completely, I don't know, they do each other, but just like two people who may have like similar interests and maybe find a room are both coincidentally in their own like singles in two-person rooms. So maybe like, I don't know, like a list of names only sent to the people in those type of rooms or something like that.
Absolutely, that's something that we've been trying to advocate for was like what are ways in which room consolidation can be made a better experience, so that it's not just like names on a list in an email, but as opposed to that, maybe a bio of the student, or maybe an event where you get to know them, to kind of shift the timelines of room consolidation to be like, to allow for there to be a more critical mass of students that can get to know each other, and pick from multiple people as well. So those are things that we're considering.
Okay, any last, yeah, that's another.
I want to emphasize this concern about like privilege and dingles and the for all the things that Grinnell sucks about. Like Grinnell has, I think, it's like the top 10 socioeconomic diversity. There's already ways that class shows up on campus, and I think that it would be really troubling for a pattern to emerge where like the rich kids have dingles. Living space is not just about living space, and people without financial resources probably need more flexible living space the most in terms of like sleeping, just like all the things that go along with living space. And so I think that that's setting up students with more money not only to have a dingle, but also more time to decompress, sleep, etc. And like that's problematic to me.
Yeah, just a question, but like suppose two roommates have like a problem with each other, like who decides which one's moving out of the room? Because like suppose like say like one of the roommates moves out and moves in with somebody else, then the person who's in the room might have to pay the extra cost of like keeping that room, you know?
Right.
But then you can't like really differentiate who you're gonna send out. So who would you like, I mean who's like making the decision which roommate moves out?
Yeah, do you know?
Oh, no.
Because yeah, I've never been part of a room consolidation process, but I would guess, and I don't know this, but I would guess that it's the student who raises the concern to Res Life, who'll be like, I'm having problems with my roommate, and then they'd be like, do you want to move out? Because I think like, you can't ask like I don't think Res Life can ask someone to leave, but they can help someone leave, so whichever roommate approaches them first, kind of gets to leave.
Are there ways other than like money that they've considered to making the process more just like making the screening process better or something?
What screening process?
As in like if people apply for, like if someone wants their roommate to move out, because I definitely like anecdotally I know that there are people who do abuse that and just like are using it to get themselves a single or whatever. But is there any way like other than making people who actually need it also pay for it? Is there any way of like, I don't know, like interviews or conversations with someone or like application or something?
So from my understanding, the spectrum they're operating on is like respectful and like invasive, and I think like the sweet spot that they found in terms of being as respectful as possible and the least invasive about another student's life and situation, allows for students to abuse the system. And I think like moving any further becomes so invasive that the students who have genuine concerns would start to feel uncomfortable. Based on what I know from Res Life Committee, Lauren has been trying to do this for the last 4 years and really struggling to figure out who has and who hasn't been kind of transparent or honest about their situation. And so it's always better, in her opinion, to give it to more people than to like restrict it.
Also, I want to bring up like kind of like the introduction of like a fee seems disingenuous, just because if the issue were that there aren't enough beds in Grinnell, then the fee wouldn't really like you wouldn't have a fee, because then that wouldn't solve that issue of getting more beds if someone just decided to pay the fee. And so like I'm just kind of confused on like the intentions of doing this.
So just like for example, if the issue like that we're talking about is like the mental health, for example, in like a roommate situation, when I said like screening process, like is there, I get like we don't want to be invasive, but for example, if the person who brought up the concern / complaint, if you had, for example, if you had them go talk to a counselor at Shaw, and then the counselor at Shaw would make the recommendation, like is there any way to get like someone else involved so that you don't have to like break confidentiality.
Senator Kirsch, and then Vice Chair Ty, and then Senator Houston.
Yeah, I was also just thinking, like, I know there are definitely people who do need singles for mental health reasons and have had a really hard time getting that accommodation. And I think that, like, it's hard for me to be like, to say, like, yeah, we should crack down on people to make sure that they don't have, like, this accidental single when the process for getting a needed single is, like, so difficult. So I think, like, maybe that should also be something that's looked into simultaneously, if they're gonna be making it any harder for people to, stay in the single.
Great, Vice Chair.
So just like one thing of this discussion, charging students to retain the right to have their own room, like charging them an extra amount on top of the already like steeping tuition that we have.